Got it.
How could you use your old iMac for a monitor?
They sell this thing called the Luna display. It's a little dongle. You plug it into the back of the new M3s, and you take your old iMac and you run this software called Luna Display Secondary. As long as it's High Sierra or better on it, it becomes a second display. And it works great for laptops, desktops. I've set 2 of them up within the last week for people that just upgraded. And the dongle is, hold on, let me go grab one. I can show it to you.
So David, you replaced a 27-inch iMac with a 24-inch iMac.
Yes.
Did you get any pushback from the other half?
Initially, she said, "Oh, it's smaller than the old one," but that was about it. And I said, "Yeah, well, they don't make a 27-inch iMac now, so we'll just go with this one." But other than that, the transition was just very smooth.
Okay.
Apple has
Putting a P7 solid state hard drive on and replaced her big old spinning drive time machine, and that works just beautifully. So
Is this a migration assistant?
I use Migration Assistant, yep. And then the nice thing about it was that Time Machine was backing up the other day, and it said, "Hey, you got some old iMac stuff on here. Do you want it?" And I go, "Not really." And so I just clicked, no, just get rid of it, and it was gone, and everything's just working hunky-dory. So
Apple has officially announced that they are not going to produce a 27-inch iMac.
Right.
And if you need a bigger screen, they recommend you get a Mac Mini or a Studio and use their 27-inch display.
yeah,
Yep.
I've got the Studio in my den, and her iMac is up in the master bedroom, and it's just it's a nice fit. I got her a nice pretty blue one so this time, and got her the expanded keyboard with the numeric keypad attached, and
Cool.
and everything's cool. It's just a nice upgrade, if I get 6 years out of this one and I'm still around, well, okay, that'll be an accomplishment.
Yeah, the 27-inch iMacs are great as long as there's solid state drives in them. If they have
Yeah.
spinning drives, they're terrible.
Yeah, she had the Fusion drive in that
Yeah.
model, and
It was
Yeah.
worth upgrading. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
this is the little dongle. You just plug this into the USB-C port on the back. Yeah, it's small there. And you run the software and it just makes it into a second display or a third display, whatever.
Yeah, it's not anything we needed in the house here, and the point is that just it was convenient. Mac sends a box, put it in a box, drop it
Yeah.
off at the UPS, and 4 days later I get a rebate on my charge card for
Not bad.
it was $160, but then they throw the
Plus
tax on
tax.
top of it.
Yeah.
So it's out of sight, out of mind, and we got a nice little new iMac M3.
And
So we're all on
Ridge,
Apple Silicon now. Everything in the house is Apple Silicon.
Yeah, I can't go Apple Silicon, unfortunately. I do too much stuff in VMware.
Yeah.
So I need
Ridge,
to be
I
able to.
agree that Apple has said we will not make any more 27-inch iMacs. Of course, one must remember that Steve Jobs said, "Oh, well, nobody's ever going to want to watch a movie on their iPod." And they also Apple did not say, "We will never make a larger than 24-inch iMac." They didn't say, "We will not make a 32-inch iMac." So, keeping your options open.
Right.
As
And
they say.
Bill Gates even said, whoever's ever going to need more than 256K of RAM?
Right.
Yeah. Or who is ever going to need more than 1 megabyte of a hard drive space?
Yeah.
Right.
I remember when somebody said, "Oh, I'm getting a 1 gigabyte hard drive." I thought, how
Yeah.
how are you ever going to fill that up?
I remember back around, I guess, early 80s, 82, 84 time frame, maybe a little bit later. There was a company called Micropolis who made thermally calibrated hard drives. If you were to do video work, 1 gigabyte drive was $1,000.
Oh, God. Huh.
You know,
I paid
it,
$1,295 for my first 60 megabyte hard drive
yeah.
in a
That
case.
may be.
Do
And
you
it was a
realize,
5 1/4
Rich,
inch platter on. See,
if you took all the money that we have spent on computers and just put it in a bank at say 3% interest, we'd have probably over $1 million each.
yeah,
Probably.
Oh, yeah.
So Jeff, you said you had some other problems.
Yes. I run calendar, and some of my iPads, when I look at a monthly view, have a little 1 or 2 line comment on each day, tells me what's happening. The other iPad just has a dot to show me which calendar has an activity. And I cannot find a setting to decide what information appears on a calendar screen.
And are you using Apple's calendar?
Yes,
Okay, usually the dot means that it's not a full day event. So if there's a line going across and it's in a full color and there's text in the color, that's an all day event. The dot means that you have a set time for it.
the dot has a color that shows if it's my
Right.
calendar or Bobby's calendar. But depending on which iPad it is, some of them only show the dot, and some of them actually show what the events are that day.
And there was, I don't know if there was a setting for that, but I remember seeing that once, and you had to do, trying to go back, this has been a while. It had something to do with, I think, with the sidebar. So if you look at your iPad, some of them will have the sidebar on it so that you can see what your calendars are.
Right.
If you get rid of that, it makes the calendar larger on the iPad. And by doing that, you will see the rest of the text. I believe that was the problem we ran into. Another time that I had an issue with that was because the date and time were set wrong in the system settings.
I'm sorry, say that last bit again.
The date and time needs to be set the same on all the iPads.
Oh, okay.
So that may be an issue as well.
I'll check that.
I have a question, Jeff. Are you looking at, you're on an iPad and you're looking at calendar. Are you looking at day, week, or month view?
Month view.
Okay. I use month view on the Mac and I use list view on the phone. That's what seems to work best for my head.
Okay, the interesting thing with the phone is what you see depends on whether it's portrait or landscape.
Or landscape.
Yeah.
Another thing to try, Jeff, is on my iPad, I don't like Apple's calendar. I use a calendar by a company called Readdle, Readdle. They have a calendar app. It's free. Years and years and years ago, Apple, when you set an event, only gave you 5-minute increments. So you couldn't make an event, say, starting at 2:02. You had to make it 2 o'clock or 2:05. Calendars at that time allowed you to put the minutes in there. So I switched over then, and it's been probably 10 years, and I've been using the same program for calendars. And it's really nice. And I think it's called calendars.
Okay, yeah, I'm just inherently scared of third-party applications because they could easily go out of business, and then who do you yell at? If it's an
True, but
Apple thing,
Riedels have been around a long time. They make a mail program, calendar program, document, scanner, PDF. They're not going away anywhere unless they get blown up in this war in Ukraine.
Also, does that calendar program use the same back end as Apple
Yes.
calendars?
Yes,
So therefore, you could have two calendar programs on your Mac open at the same time, and they'll show the same thing.
well, they're for iPads only.
Okay,
don't make a
well,
Mac
one on your
version.
iPad and one and calendar on your Mac. And if you change one thing on one of them, it'll change it on the other
Right.
one. So, Jeff, if you don't need to be worried about using a third-party calendar and having them go out of business, as long as they use the same protocol that Apple Calendars does, because you can always go back to Apple Calendars.
Right. Or you
Yep.
could have both of them on your iPad.
Okay.
what I want is when I look at the monthly review on the iPad, I see in each little day's block what the things are.
Right.
So, it could be Jeff Doctor or Bobby, whatever. And then if I look at the day, I can see a lot more detail. So, okay, well, no answer to that one then, really.
Any other questions? Well, welcome everybody and happy Thanksgiving, happy Veterans Day, and happy Election Day. And I hope that you are having a Thanksgiving with family, if not in person, at least remotely. And I guess that's all I got for right now. Anybody got any questions?
I have a question.
Hey, Jay.
Kevin, I've got a client who is having a problem with sending email through Comcast. And she's getting a message when you go to the detailed view of the email. Trying to pull it up here. Okay. So she's getting a message in all the gobbledygook that client did not present a certificate.
Is this for all email?
No, it's inconsistent.
Trying to think here. So if she sends it and the message that she's getting back is from Comcast saying that the client didn't have an valid certificate.
Yes. Yeah, it comes from sys.comcast.net.
Okay, then what she needs to do is contact the people that she's emailing it. Their certificate may have been out of date. There's nothing on her computer.
Yeah, she's running Ventura, so she's pretty up to date.
Well, that has nothing to do with it. Certificates are stored in your keychain, and you could have one from 2008 that expired and it's just sitting there. But that would be, she would see that before sending the message and getting a return back from the mailer, Damon. If she's getting it back from sys.comcast, then chances are the certificates or the MX records on the other end for the person that's receiving the email is wrong or expired. What a lot of email clients are doing is they're now requiring you to update your DKIM records as well as your CNAME records for email. And if you don't do that, your email will not work properly due to the new security protocols that are in place. I know for my domain, I had to do all that stuff. If I sent an email to myself, I'd get back as saying that, this is not a secure domain. Do you want to trust it? And just by changing those records, it now works.
Does this only apply to like businesses or, I mean, I've never seen that in just my home use.
It would be a third-party domain, so it would be like, say, if Roger had his own domain, like my domain is maxbug.net,
Okay.
and I have my own email address on there. If somebody was to email me before I updated all my certificates, they would get something like that back.
Okay.
So I'm seeing something that says DKIM signature relaxed.
Right. That's because their email servers require them to get the DKIM updated. And it depends on who they use. I used to use a company called Zoho, and they sent an article. Let me see if I have that. It's adding SPF and DNS and DKIM records. And what it's for is so that nobody could spoof your domain name.
Oh, okay.
So, do you know who the registrar is of the people that she's sending the email to, or what their domain is?
No.
Okay.
One of them was a Gmail address.
Gmail shouldn't be doing that unless it's a business Gmail address, where that person, everything goes to a specific domain.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think that person did work for a government organization.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, it's nothing on her side. It's on the side of the receiver. They have to get their records squared away.
Okay, good.
So, but yeah, best thing to do is Google DKIM and SPF authentication. And you might get a little bit better understanding of what needs to get done,
Okay,
or have her do that.
thanks.
Anybody else have any questions? And I just want to say I stand corrected. Apparently, calendars is now available for the Mac as well. So
I guess I came late, but I'll throw my hat in the ring and tell me if you've already talked about this. I can pick it up off the videotape. My wife is a designated receiver of her email on my new Mac, and everything went really well for years and years. And whenever I called up mail.app, her mail and my mail would be intermixed, and we sorted it all out. Then all of a sudden, it would be about a week or so ago, her mail stopped appearing. And I'm curious, did you guys already talk about that sort of thing?
no.
But yeah,
Okay. I haven't had a chance to chase this very far, but I think that there's some sort of permissions or something like that that need to be granted. And
It shouldn't be permissions. Have you tried using Connection Doctor?
the good suggestion.
You know where that's located, right? In the
Yeah, I
mail
can find-
program?
Yeah.
Yeah, and mail, when you go to mail under window. Scroll down to connection doctor. There's no
Right.
hotkey for it. And it'll
Okay.
tell you what the problems are.
All right, good. I'm glad. I'll have a look at that. The there was another thing that just happened. Uh, I'll remember it later on. That's always the case when you're my age.
Okay, I have another question. Being the Boy Scout that I am, I loaned my iPhone to a friend who had misplaced her iPhone and allowed her to sign in to my iPhone with her Apple ID. And we did, in
Oh.
fact, locate her phone, but I got a little bonus in that I got her pictures. And then actually today I was looking at my wallet and I got a couple of things from her wallet intermixed with my wallet. So I called Apple and they suggested I change my Apple ID password, which I did. And I don't think it's happening anymore. But the question is, if I delete her pictures on my system, will it delete the pictures on her side?
Most likely, yes. What you need to do is make sure you sign out of her Apple ID.
Well, no, I've been signed out, for weeks. It just took one night of her being signed into my phone for all this to merge.
Right, what you should have done, Roger, is go to iCloud.com and signed in there. And then you could use the Find My iPhone from the web with her Apple ID rather than signing you in. What she needs to do on her end, have her sign into on her phone, she could go to devices, make sure your iPhone is not listed, and have her delete your device from there. Once it's deleted and no longer tied to her account, you can delete whatever you want and it won't affect her.
Okay, good idea.
But yeah, never sign somebody else's account into iCloud on your device. That's what iCloud.com is for.
Cleaning up all of the who knows what to do about who and when and why and so forth has really thrown a big monkey wrench in how the Mac has operated for years. And all of us old timers are, I feel, kind of at sea.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff.
I've got iMessage questions. Again, it's because I've got too many machines. But one of my MacBooks doesn't seem to be fully locked in with the other one as far as messages go. Some people I send messages to and it works, others it doesn't on that machine. And some of the messages I send from my good machine do appear on the other one, some of them don't. So it's like the two MacBooks live in two different worlds.
Do you have iCloud messages turned on both?
Yes, I do.
Okay. The one that doesn't have it, you could actually go into the settings in iCloud, go to accounts and say download, and it should resync them. If the message, though, is something that is going to an Android device, in other words, has the green bubble, which I hear Apple is getting rid of, which I hope is not true.
It's not true.
Okay. If your device is not on when you send those devices, they don't always sync. Because iCloud messages will only sync iCloud or iMessages. Texts go into Android or SMS messages, and they'll only sync when the devices are on. and your phone
Right.
is nearby.
Message color is strange as well. I've got a iPhone friend. Her messages are always gray. They're not green or blue.
Gray usually means that you have the wrong email address set up for it.
Hmm.
So try have her make sure, like when you go into your iPhone and you go to iMessages, it'll give you an option of which addresses you want to use. And what I tell my clients at least is turn off everything but your phone number.
Okay.
And then only text her phone number and not her email address, and then it goes through. If you're sending it to a phone number and she has an iPhone and it's green, or yeah, it's green, it means that they do not have iMessage set up properly on their end.
Okay.
So yeah, the only option should be green or blue. Blue meaning iMessage, green being non-iMessages. Gray means that you're sending it to something that the servers don't see as a real phone number.
Okay. I'll
And if
double check.
everything's working right, it shows blue for what you say, or green for what you say, and for what your correspondent sends back to you is always in gray.
Okay.
Not on my stuff.
I don't think so.
Yeah, everything is always blue. Unless you don't have colors turned on or you have contrast changed.
No, I got it just straight. I'm looking at stuff I've sent to Kurt. Everything I send outbound to Kurt is blue. Everything that Kurt sends me is in a gray bubble.
Right, that's on your Mac.
Correct.
Well, not on it's on the phone too.
It's on the phone too.
Yeah.
Kurt just showed his hold the phone in front of your body.
I'm trying. I could stand up.
Your background's gonna kill it, yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, you're right. So it's what you're sending is what counts.
Correct.
That needs to be blue or green. Blue
Correct.
meaning that they have an iMessage, green bean. But yeah, what they send doesn't show up as a different color. Unless it's the first text, I believe, from them.
So could we maybe get a meeting on Apple's stance on RCS and what's gonna happen and what it means in plain English?
Well, the basic way that it's going to work, it's not coming out till next year. Number one, RCS. And so for everybody else that doesn't understand RCS, so RCS is a separate messaging system that will support Androids and iPhones at the same time, allow you to send high quality videos to Android users, but it's not going to replace iMessage. It's going to be parallel with iMessage. So iMessage is not going away. One of the problems with RCS is it's not as secure as iMessage. And so that's one of Apple's complaints about it. But apparently Apple is going to go ahead and implement it anyway, and hoping that the security improves over time.
One of the things I read suggested, air quotes, that Apple might actually fix RCS because they program on both sides. Now, I don't know whether or not we'll ever see that.
Yeah, Google would have to do the encryption on their end because their end-to-end encryption supposedly is really bad. And Apple has to lower the encryption standards in iMessages to use RCS.
Yeah.
And of course, no one's going to admit that in their ads and bubbles and things.
Right. That's why all the terrorists use iPhones, unfortunately, because Apple stuff is secure and it's always end-to-end using iMessages.
And It's my understanding that RCS is not end-to-end encrypted. Apple is trying to get that to become a standard for RCS. And I'm guessing, and only guessing, that Apple won't really join RCS until that happens.
Beg to differ a little bit, Bob.
Okay.
I understand where you're coming from, and it's, based on the way human nature works, you've got a good, strong point there. The thing that I discovered as I followed this little foo-for-ah is that people who use Android and work with SMS are really in the dark ages. They can't send a decent picture. They can't send a big picture. They're just a whole pot full of things that are not supported in any way under SMS that we take for granted. So there's a big benefit to the Android people if Apple will basically support RCS standard without any encryption foo-for-ah at all, because what happens is RCS does allow you to send decent pictures, decent messages, decent audio, all that sort of thing. It just doesn't do so securely.
Okay. Okay.
That makes sense.
I'm certainly no expert here, and I'd like to welcome Thomas McGorry and Thomas McGorry. I don't know why, Tom, you are here twice, but you only need to be here once.
Unless he has a separate microphone from his video device.
And there was an article on in ARS about it. No, I'm going to put the link in the chat. Let me see where this is. Chat, here goes. Here's a link to something about how Apple is going to be supporting it and all that. They don't go into too much detail, but they go into the gist of it.
Cool, check it out. You know, the other thing from earlier is we were talking about using www.icloud.com. I'd love to see sort of an exposition on the benefits and detriments of using iCloud.com, when we should use it over and when we shouldn't, or whatever.
Might be quite interesting, yeah.
Because there are cool things you can do, like Kevin pointed out, and I either forgot it or
you never use it. So, everything else is automatic for us Mac users. So you never build up much of any.
Yeah.
iCloud.
The nice thing about iCloud are the apps that support it natively work flawlessly with it. The problem is there's not enough information on about iCloud.com for apps that don't use it natively. Like, for example, the problem that I ran into, some friends have ran into, is if I have X amount of information, I want it available on iCloud, but I also want it on my iPad. Okay.
Sure.
So that once it's on iCloud, it syncs to my iPad, because if I leave the house and I don't have Wi-Fi with my iPad, I still want that data there. iCloud doesn't automatically sync. Dropbox, when Dropbox first came out and I started using it, they had an option of how much local storage you want to use on your iOS devices. And if you set it for, say, 10 gigabytes, it would literally download up to 10 gigabytes of data onto your iPad automatically without having to manually download it. I cannot find any setting in iCloud that talks about that.
Well, Kevin, do you think people didn't like that because all of a sudden the big lump of data showed up and they weren't expecting it?
iPads now have gigabyte, 100 gigabytes, a tera. My iPhone has a
Yeah,
terabyte
yeah.
in it. So I would love
Yeah.
everything that I put in iCloud to be on my phone without having me click each file to download it. And I have not found any settings in iCloud that allow that. So it's still kind of a mystery there.
Yeah. They're probably still caught up in the idea that storage on that tiny little iPhone is very dear, and they don't want to load it up. You know what'll happen is people who aren't really very cognizant of what's going on with the iPhone will just they'll willy-nilly load up their iPad with everything, their iPhone with everything, and then they'll gripe like mad because they ran out of storage, even though maybe they've got a terabyte or
Well,
more.
they give you the option in Photos whether you want to download to your device or just have a a thumbnail on there.
Yeah.
So that option is there in Photos. Why not do the same thing for iCloud?
Yeah, that would be a start.
You know, or at least certain files have an option of a folder being shared locally on all devices, and then anything in that folder automatically downloads to every device. So that if you're somewhere and you need a file and you don't have Wi-Fi, you could access that file.
Yep. And you know, I just had another thought too, and that is that when, say, 5 years has gone by, and a lot of people are on the really fast cell network, whose name I can't bring up, not
5G.
G, yeah, then a lot of this problem is going to disappear. And if I were on the management of any of these companies, I would question a little bit about whether I should spend tons of money developing a system that I knew the hardware was going to come along and make obsolete in a fairly short period of time.
Well, you could also do it like I know, like with Dropbox. Dropbox has options to only do syncing when on Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
So
you can approach it
it
that way.
what it did was it says you could do local syncs, which means when it downloads everything to your iOS device, you have to be on the same Wi-Fi network as your main device. And since your iPhones are always on, my computer, when I move something to my Dropbox, it goes on my iCloud. The problem is Dropbox free only gives people 2 gigabytes,
Oh,
where people are paying for up to 200 gigabytes on iCloud. And if iCloud is the native, why have multiple apps that sync and do the same thing?
yeah. Yeah, it needs a full system solution, but given that you have competing vendors in there who want to have their dog win that hunt, then you're kind of stuck in a bad place.
Yeah.
I'm going to stand on my soapbox for a moment and say that Apple should, for anywhere from free to $5 a month, give you iCloud storage that equals the total of all of your iCloud connected devices, your Mac, your iPad, your phone, your Apple TV. Just add those all together, whatever that number is, that's what the iCloud storage you should have.
I would need over
So
100
there's enough
terabytes.
silicon to do that.
Notice,
For anybody who's a member of this organization, they're going to be reasonable, or they're going to listen to reason. And if they start going off the deep end, we can talk them out of it, if you will. But the problem is that people in the outside world who are not computer knowledgeable are what's the old word about foolproof? There is no such thing. Fools are the most inventive people in the world.
The one that I like, Jerry, was that God loves stupid people. And to prove it, he's made so many of them.
Oh yeah, yeah. So that I mean, this is what we're up against. It's partly the fact that we've taken the time and effort and trouble to learn this stuff, but we're very much in the minority, and it could get to be depressing if you would let it be depressing.
Oh, there's too much in the world to be depressed about these days. Come on.
Really?
That's true.
Apple is not one of them.
No, no.
Hey, speaking of which, Tim Cook apparently did if I read this properly, a 45-minute interview with the BBC. I just saw this earlier this evening. I wonder if anybody's seen it yet.
No, sounds
like a long interview, but
Well, he told the interviewer that he might not be around till 2050. But he
really,
didn't really say that he was or he wasn't. And that Apple did have a plan for the future as far as who's going to be running the company. And he said that, and for that reason, I have been working with several people in order to give them to the,
train them.
well, training them, yes, in order to give them to the board of directors to choose which one later on. And that's about all he said. No names, of course.
Of course,
Right.
all companies have to have a succession plan like that, so it makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
But he's 62, I think now, right? I
Yeah.
think I looked that up on
Just-
Wikipedia.
Just a kid.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, Jay.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been slaving away here trying to get my new computer sound system to work properly.
And I just got your message, so I just replied.
Yeah, I've got I'm going to change carrier on my my iPhones, on my wife's and my iPhones, and I got the SIM cards. I just wanted to know if there's anything particular I should know before
Yes.
yeah.
What you need to do is on you have your iPhone in front of you.
Yes.
Go to the settings. Go to general,
Yeah.
click on about, go down to the section that says SIM. And make sure that it says that your SIM is unlocked.
Yeah, I've done
Or
that.
carrier lock, no SIM restrictions.
Yeah, that's the way it is. Yes.
If it says that, all you need to do is power down your phone,
Yeah.
swap the SIMs out, power up your phone, and it'll work on the new carrier.
Okay. All right. Good. I had read kind of conflicting stuff online. That's why I wanted to verify before.
Yeah, the main thing is it needs to be unlocked.
Yeah, and it is.
So-
Both my phone and my wife's have the same statement that no SIM restrictions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Let me add just a little comment here. I actually ended up on my iPhone 13 changing from a hardware SIM to the electronic SIM, and it went just like that. It was a very fast, very easy, confidence-inspiring transaction. So I can testify that the built-in SIM, whose name I can't remember right now,
eSIM.
eSIMs, yes, sorry, are alive and well and seem to work pretty well, and they're the SIM of the future. So just know that as time goes on, you're going to hear about them more and more, and the
I've been reading
likelihood
about
is
them.
Yeah, one of the nice things that iOS has, or iOS 17 has, is if your phone, you have an iPhone 12 or later, I believe it is. If you have a physical SIM and an eSIM that's not being used, you could actually tap a button and switch move your physical SIM into an eSIM without even noticing it. and then take your old SIM out. The nice thing about eSIMs, especially on the new phones that have multiple eSIMs, you could turn them on and off as needed. So you could get multiple phone numbers on one phone and turn one SIM on, turn the other SIM off, or leave them both on.
Or change from country to country.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Jay, who are you changing from and to?
Well, I've been on AT&T as a mobile carrier for 20 odd years. And I'm thought the bill was just, so I'm adding mobile to my Xfinity account.
Yeah.
And I'm paying now I'm paying AT&T like $94 a month. And with adding the phone on to Comcast, I'll be paying $30 for the first year for 2 phones.
That's
I'm
up to
hearing
one.
this.
Pardon?
How much data do you use? How much data do you use a month on your iPhones?
They tell me it's unlimited data and unlimited voice, so I don't know.
Okay, so that's $30 per device. One of the things that
It's not per device, it's for both devices.
no, trust me, it's per device.
Well, I confirmed it with them personally, online and in voice.
Because that's who I use.
Yeah.
And if you go, and it's the only plan that is $30 total, gives you 3 gigabytes to share per device.
Okay. Well, that's enough for me.
Yeah. And for what we do here is I have the one that buy the gigabyte, so I only get 1 gigabyte.
Yeah.
In the last 3 years, I've gone over once. So we pay like $12 a month for 2 cell phones.
Yeah, I have, Kevin, I have the $30 for both for 1 year, and then it switches to $60 for both.
Oh, okay. So it's a promo. But
Yeah.
watch how much data you're using because there's so much Wi-Fi out there. You
Yeah.
may be able to switch to the by gigabyte plan, which if you're under 1 gigabyte for both phones, it's only $15 a month.
Oh, okay. All right. Good.
So-
Thanks for the tip. And they say they use the Verizon
Yes, they
system,
do use
so-
Verizon towers. So if you have a bad cell signal, you can get a Verizon booster and it'll work
Okay.
great.
Yeah, I have an AT&T booster now, so I was going to ask whether Verizon has a booster.
They do, but you have to know somebody who has a Verizon account that's willing to add the booster to their account.
Okay. I'll figure that one out.
Well, Jay, welcome to
Twice.
Jay and to Jay. We have evidently we have 2 feeds from you from the same camera.
Yeah.
One with the background and one without the background. So not only is your new computer working well, it's doing double duty.
I couldn't get the sound to work on the first one, so I logged back into a new feed and didn't cancel the old one, I guess.
Or maybe you're just trying to double your chances for getting the door prize. Ain't
There
gonna
you go.
work. I caught you.
I'll let you know if it works.
Isn't if you log in more than once, you get disqualified?
No, you don't get disqualified. But I'm keeping an attendance record, and I've only got Jay down once, and
Okay.
that's the J in uppercase and lowercase. J in
Yeah.
all uppercase. No good.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. That's the one with,
A little piece of information here I shared in the chat window there. A couple weeks ago, I saw a real nice little clip on the news regarding lighting for Zoom meetings. And so I checked it out on Amazon, and it's a very nice lamp. It's got adjustable brightness and color. So I put the link in there, but I noticed that, my gosh, it looks like they doubled the price on it since I bought it. But there's a link if anybody's interested in a very nice desk Zoom lamp. That's it's LED, but works just fine.
They probably
that's-
doubled the
that's-
price so they could half the price for Black Friday.
Yeah, maybe. I was
Maybe
surprised.
25% off.
I think I paid $23 for it, and This one here, the cheapest one I could find was almost 45 bucks, so I'm going,
Wow.
but maybe you're right, maybe it's a Black
that's
Friday
good.
thing, it's gonna drop it
That's good.
again, or maybe they had a special because it was on the local news here, I don't know.
Well, on that note, we're going to end the recording of the Ask Me Anything. Give us a 10-minute break and come back at 7 o'clock for the general meeting.